Look at me. I need you to lock in right now because we're about to have a conversation that your ego has been sprinting away from for the last 6 months. You keep telling everybody who will listen that you're waiting for the right season. But the truth is, you're just decorating your prison cell and calling it a home. You think you're stuck because of the economy or because of your boss or because you didn't have the right upbringing. But I'm here to tell you that you don't even know the real reason you're paralyzed yet. And until you face the monster under the bed, you're going to keep sleepwalking through a life that was meant to be legendary. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't calculating your next move. You're terrified of the movement itself. You want the crown, but you're allergic to the weight of it. You want the victory lap, but you're ducking the conditioning. Listen to me. Every single day, you choose the warmth of that blanket over the chill of the grind. Your ceiling is lowering. It's getting tighter in there. The air is getting thinner. And one day, you're going to wake up, you're going to reach up to break through, and you're going to realize you've waited so long that the concrete has finally hardened above your head. You're becoming a master of a world that no longer exists because you're too scared to step into the one that's demanding you to grow. I remember a Tuesday morning, maybe 4 o'clock, pitch black outside, and the rain was hitting the window like it was trying to break the glass. I was laying there in a bed that felt like a cloud. The heater was humming. And for a second, I felt like a king. But then I looked at my reflection in the darkened television screen across the room, and I didn't see a king. I saw a man who was becoming a professional at being comfortable. I saw a man who was choosing a mattress over his mission. I felt the softness of the sheets and realized those sheets were actually a shroud. I was burying my potential in Egyptian cotton. I had to physically kick the covers off, feel the shock of the cold air hit my skin, and stand there shivering in the dark just to remind myself that I was still alive. I had to realize that the comfort wasn't a reward for my hard work. It was a bribe to keep me from my greatness. You're being bribed. And you're taking a deal. You're trading your inheritance for a nap. You're trading your legacy for a little bit of peace and quiet while your destiny is screaming for you to get in the ring. The real problem isn't that you're lazy. It's that you've fallen in love with a version of yourself that doesn't require anything from you. You've built a life where nobody challenges you, where nothing is at stake, and where good enough is the gold standard. You're hiding in the survival trap. Your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do 1,000,000 years ago. It wants to keep you safe, it wants to keep you fed, and it wants to keep you hidden. So the predators don't find you. But here's the truth. You're avoiding in the modern world. The predator isn't a lion. The predator is the clock. The predator is the slow decay of your ambition. You're sitting there thinking you're safe because you're not failing. But the absence of failure is the ultimate failure because it means you aren't even in the game. You're the reason your dream is delayed. You're the one holding the brakes while you're screaming at the engine to go. You want the breakthrough, but you're terrified of the breakdown that has to happen first. You want the harvest, but you're scared to get dirt under your fingernails. Let's talk about the science of why you're acting like a coward, because that's what this is. Your brain has this mechanism called cognitive homeostasis. It's like a thermostat for your soul. Every time you try to turn the heat up, every time you try to push into a new territory, your nervous system senses the change and it freaks out. It sends a shot of cortisol through your veins. It makes your heart race, it makes your palms sweat, and it tells you go back. It's dangerous out there. And because you don't understand the chemistry, you think that feeling is a sign that you should stop. You think that anxiety is a no from the universe. No, that anxiety is the sound of the gates of your potential opening up. That discomfort is the tax you pay to enter the land of the elite. But you've been conditioned to run from the very thing that is trying to save you. You've been conditioned to seek the safe path. But let me tell you something. The safe path is the most dangerous road in the world because it leads to a dead end every single time. You're choosing a slow death over a fast growth. You're choosing to wither away in the shade instead of burning bright in the sun. I'm giving you a tool right now, and I need you to use it before this video even ends. I call it the red line tool. It's a 3-second rule, but it's deeper than that. From the moment your mind says, I should, and your body says, but I don't want to, you have exactly 3 seconds to cross the red line. You have 3 seconds to move your physical body toward the thing that scares you before your brain locks the door and swallows the key. If you wait until 4 seconds, you've already lost. If you wait until 5, you're back in the trap. You have to become a predator of your own hesitation. When that alarm goes off and your mind starts negotiating for 5 more minutes, you don't argue, you move. When you know you need to make that phone call and your hand starts shaking, you don't wait for the shake to stop. You dial. You have to outrun your own excuses. You have to be faster than your fear. You owe it to you. You owe it to you. You owe it to the person you were meant to be before the world told you to settle for what you could get. Think about this in your daily life. It's 6 p.m. You just got home from a job that sucks the life out of you. You're standing in your kitchen and you see your laptop on the table. That laptop represents your business, your book, your ticket out of the mundane. But right next to it is the remote. The remote represents the safety of the survival trap. You feel that pull. Your brain says you've had a long day. You deserve to relax. Just one episode. That is the moment of truth. That is the conflict. Your old self wants to sit down and disappear into someone else's story. But your new self, the one I'm talking to right now, knows that if you sit down, you're staying down. You use the red line tool 1, 2, 3. You don't even take your coat off. You walk straight to that laptop. You flip it open and you start typing. You don't wait for inspiration. You don't wait for the mood to be right. You execute because you're an architect, not a tenant. You're building the house, not just living in the one someone else gave you. When you start living like this, your whole identity shifts. You stop being a victim of your biology and you become a disruption architect. You start looking for the scary stuff because you realize that is where the treasure is buried. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and the atmosphere changes because you aren't seeking permission to exist. You are asserting your right to lead. You become someone who views comfort as a red flag. When things get too easy, you get nervous. When things get too quiet, you start looking for a mountain to climb. You shift from being a dreamer who talks about what they're going to do to an executive force that people have to reckon with. You aren't just trying anymore. You are becoming the standard. You are becoming the person that your family can lean on, the person your community can look up to, and the person that your younger self would be proud of. So here's my challenge to you, and I want you to hear me loud and clear. Stop being a spectator in your own life. The survival trap is open, but you're the only one who can walk out of it. I want you to pick one thing today, not tomorrow, not Monday. One thing that you've been avoiding because it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's a workout. Maybe it's finally starting that project you're searching for 3 years. Whatever it is, I want you to apply the red line tool and do it right now. Don't give your fear a chance to catch its breath. Don't give your excuses a seat at the table. You have been playing small for far too long, and the world is tired of waiting for you to show up. Break the trap, cross the red line, reclaim your future. You have the power, you have the tools, and you have the responsibility to be great. Now get up and go get what belongs to you. Listen to me closely because we're about to pull the curtain back on the biggest lie you've been telling yourself since you started this journey. You love to talk about the destination, but you're secretly terrified of the drive. You've got a 4K vision for your life. You can see the house. You can smell the leather in the car. You can hear the applause from the crowd, but you're trying to run that high definition dream on a low resolution work ethic. You think you're stuck because the world is holding you back, but the truth is far more dangerous. You are in love with a mirage. You're addicted to the dopamine hit of imagining the win, but you're completely bankrupt when it comes to the discipline required to secure it. You think you know why you're still in the same place you were last year, but you don't. Not yet. You think it's a lack of opportunity. But by the end of this talk, you're going to realize it's actually a lack of operational integrity. You want the dream, but you don't want the grind. You want the lifestyle, but you don't want the life that builds it. You want the view from the summit, but you're complaining about the incline of the hill. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't waiting for your big break. You're avoiding the very labor that creates the break. I want you to see this scene. I remember being in a hotel room in a city. I can't even remember now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm staring at a vision board I carried across the country. I was looking at these pictures of impact, pictures of helping millions, pictures of financial freedom. The images were crisp, bright, and beautiful. But then I looked down at my hands, they weren't moving. I looked at my laptop, it was closed. I looked at my schedule. It was empty of actual high-stakes activity. I was sitting in a dark room, basking in the glow of a future that had zero foundation in my present. I felt like a fraud. I realized in that moment that I was treating my vision like a movie I was watching instead of a building I was supposed to be constructing. I was a spectator of my own potential. I was high on the what and completely absent from the how. I had to shut my eyes and realize that the beauty of that vision was actually distracting me from the ugliness of the work I was neglecting. I had to stop worshiping the image and start respecting the process. The real problem is that you become a professional dreamer and a semi-pro executor. You spend all your energy on the what if and zero energy on the what is. You're waiting for a feeling to hit you before you move. But feelings don't build empires. Systems build empires. You're waiting for the clouds to part and the sun to shine. But the real winners are out there working in the rain, working in the dark, working when they feel like they've got nothing left. You want the result, but you run from the repetition. You want the accolade, but you avoid the agonizing hours of anonymity. You're the reason your dream is delayed. You're the one who keeps hitting snooze on your destiny because the mirage of the future feels better than the reality of the work. You want the prize without the pressure. You want the harvest without the hard labor. You want the glory without the guts. There is a psychological trap happening here called affective forecasting error. Your brain is a master manipulator. It gives you a massive hit of dopamine just for thinking about your success. When you post that quote or you talk to your friends about what you're gonna do, your brain registers that as a win. It feels so good that you subconsciously feel like you've already arrived. But because you've already tasted the reward in your imagination, you lack the hunger to do the grueling, boring, repetitive work in reality. You're overestimating how much happiness the goal will bring you while you're completely underestimating the psychological resilience you are supposed to be building right now. You're looking for a finish line, but you're refusing to run the race. You're trying to download the software of success without installing the hardware of discipline. You're addicted to the fantasy, and that fantasy is keeping you from the fruit. I'm giving you a tool to break this mirage right now. It's called the Audit 60. I don't want to hear about your 5-year plan. I don't want to hear about your big vision for 2026. I want to know what you're doing for the next 60 minutes. The Audit 60 is simple. You set a timer for 60 minutes. You put your phone in another room and you engage in the single most difficult, most boring, most unglamorous part of your job. You don't check email. You don't your search. You don't grab a snack. You do the heavy lifting. You do the deep work. You close the gap between the high definition dream and the low definition effort by bringing the effort up to meet the vision. You owe it to you. You owe it to you. You owe it to you to stop being a fan of your own potential and start being a producer of your own reality. Picture this in your real life. It's Monday morning. You've been telling everyone you're going to start that business. You wake up and your first instinct is to go to Instagram and look at luxury accounts to get motivated. That is the mirage. Instead, you use the Audit 60. You sit down at that desk at 6 a.m. You don't look at the luxury cars. You look at the spreadsheets. You don't look at the mansions. You look at the marketing plan. You spend 60 minutes of raw, unfiltered, agonizing focus on the plumbing of your dream. You aren't visualizing success. You are manufacturing it. You are hoping for a breakthrough. You are breaking through the resistance of your own laziness. This is what it looks like to be a pro. This is what it looks like to stop being a dreamer and start being a doer. When you commit to this, your identity undergoes a massive shift. You stop being a dreamer who is perpetually waiting for one day, and you become a system builder. You become the person who finds joy in the grind. You start to realize that the high definition life isn't found in the destination. It's found in the clarity of your focus. You become someone who values execution over excitement. You become someone who is more impressed by a finished task than a flashy idea. You stop chasing the mirage and you start owning the desert. You become the kind of person that people can depend on because your work isn't tied to your mood. It's tied to your mission. You become a person of substance, a person of weight, a person whose presence is felt because they've done the work that nobody else was willing to do. So here's my direct challenge to you. Kill the mirage today. Stop talking about what you're going to be and show me who you are right now. If your work ethic doesn't match your vision, then your vision is just a hallucination. You don't have time to wait for the perfect moment because the perfect moment is a lie designed to keep you comfortable. You have 60 minutes. You have a timer. You have a task that you've been avoiding because it isn't fun. Do it now. Not after you finish this video. Not after you get another cup of coffee. Do it now. Put the work on the table. Pay the price in full. You've spent enough time looking at the map. It's time to start walking. The world doesn't pay you for what? You know, it pays you for what you do. Get out of your head. Get into the work and turn that mirage into a mountain that you own. Look at me. I need you to hear this with your soul, not just your ears, because you've been trying to bargain with the universe for a discount that does not exist. You keep walking up to the counter of success, looking at the price tag and asking the world if they take potential as a form of payment. You think you're stuck because you're waiting for a lucky break or a helping hand. But I'm here to tell you that you're stuck because you are financially illiterate when it comes to the only currency that matters in this game. You think you know why your life hasn't changed. You think it is the lack of resources or the lack of timing, but you don't, not yet. You haven't realized that the breakthrough you're praying for is sitting right on the other side of the very thing you spend 24 hours a day trying to avoid. You want the result, but you're terrified of the sacrifice. You want the freedom, but you're running from the furnace. You're trying to build a multi-million-dollar life with a free trial effort. And I'm telling you right now, the bill is coming due, and you're broke in the department of grit. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't protecting your peace. You are protecting your laziness. You're the reason your dream is delayed. I want to take you back to a night where the walls felt like they were closing in on me. I was sitting in the back of a beat-up car. The windows were fogged up from the cold, and I was shivering so hard my teeth were rattling like dice in a cup. I had two choices. I could stay in that car, keep the engine running for a little bit of heat until the gas ran out, and just accept that this was my comfortable reality. Or I could step out into the freezing rain and walk 3 miles to the library to do the work I knew I had to do. My body was screaming for the seat. My mind was begging for the safety of the stillness. But I looked at my reflection and I realized that if I chose the comfort of that car, I was choosing the death of my future. I forced myself to open that door. I felt the icy water soak through my thin jacket in seconds. And I started walking. Every step felt like a needle in my foot. Every breath felt like fire in my lungs. And that's when it hit me. This pain isn't my enemy. This pain is the down payment. This pain is the proof that I'm actually buying my way out of mediocrity. I had to fall in love with the burn because the burn was the only thing that could melt the chains of where I used to be. The real problem is that you've been conditioned to think that if it hurts, something is wrong. You've been told that life should be balanced and smooth. So the moment you feel a little bit of pressure, the moment you feel a little bit of friction, you quit, you retreat. You think the struggle is a sign to stop when the struggle is actually the entrance exam. You're trying to negotiate the price of greatness. You're looking for a buoy one, get one free deal on excellence, but there are no sales on the mountaintop. You want the breakthrough, but you are hiding from the breakdown. You want the muscle, but you're scared of the tear. Listen to me. Pain is coming for you either way. Life is going to hurt whether you're sitting on the couch or whether you're climbing the mountain. The only question you have to answer is, do you want the pain of discipline or the pain of regret? Do you want the pain that builds you or the pain that breaks you? You owe it to you. You owe it to you. You owe it to you to pay the price today so you can own the day tomorrow. There's a psychological mechanism at play here that is keeping you broke. And it's called loss aversion. Your brain is hardwired to fear losing what you have more than it values gaining what you want. You are so terrified of losing your stable mediocrity. You're so scared of losing your free time or your comfort that you refuse to invest the only currency that buys a new life. Your brain sees the work as a loss of energy, but it doesn't see the gain of the person you become through the struggle. You are stuck in a cycle of emotional bankruptcy because you're trying to stay safe in a world that only rewards the bold. You're avoiding the fire, but you don't realize that the gold inside of you can only be purified in the heat. You're protecting your weaknesses instead of developing your strengths. You're choosing a comfortable cage over a challenging sky. I'm giving you a tool right now to stop the negotiation and start the execution. It's called the pain pivot. It's a simple rule for your nervous system. The very moment a task gets hard, the very second you feel that internal voice saying, that's enough for today, or I'll finish this tomorrow. That is your signal to perform exactly 2 more reps. If you're writing and you want to stop, write 2 more paragraphs. If you're on the phone and you're tired of the rejection, make 2 more calls. If you're in the gym and your lungs are burning, do 2 more sets. You have to teach your brain that the wall isn't the end. It's the beginning of the profit margin. You don't get paid for the work you do when it is easy. You get paid for the work you do after you want to quit. That is where the currency is minted. That is where the identity is forged. Think about how this looks in your daily life. It's 9 p.m. on a Friday. You've had a long week, and your friends are texting you to come out to relax, to just blow off some steam. But you know you're behind on your goals. You're sitting there looking at your work, and you feel that heavy, dull ache of exhaustion. Your old self would close the book and say, I'll catch up on Monday. That is the pain of regret, calling your name. But the new you, the person who understands the currency of pain, uses the pain pivot. You feel the exhaustion and you decide right then and there, I'm going to give this mission 2 more hours of high-level focus before I even think about closing my eyes. You stay in that chair. You embrace the headache. You welcome the fatigue. You realize that while everyone else is out spending their potential, you are in the lab investing yours. You aren't missing out. You are moving up. When you start paying this price consistently, your entire identity undergoes a radical shift. You cease being a negotiator and you become a contractor. You stop asking how much does it cost, and you start saying whatever it takes. You become someone who is no longer intimidated by the difficulty of a task. In fact, you start to crave the difficulty because you know that the harder the work is, the less competition you'll have at the finish line. You become a person of weight. You become a person of substance. You become someone who understands that the struggle isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. You start to see the sweat and the tears as the receipts for your future success. You stop being a person who hopes for the best and you become the person who is the best because you've out-suffered, outworked, and outlasted everyone who tried to find a shortcut. So here's my direct challenge to you today. Stop trying to get a discount on your destiny. The price of greatness is non-negotiable and it must be paid in full, upfront, every single morning. I want you to look at the one area of your life where you've been taking it easy, and I want you to go to war with that comfort. I want you to find the wall, and I want you to run straight through it using the pain pivot. Stop crying about the process and start celebrating the price. You have the capacity to endure more than you ever imagined, but you'll never know it as long as you're hiding in the shade. Get out in the heat. Pay the currency of pain. Prove to yourself that you are worth the investment. You've been a free trial version of yourself for long enough. It's time to buy the full experience. Go get what's yours, and don't you dare stop until the bill is paid in full. Look at me. I need you to lean in because we are about to address the most sophisticated lie you have ever told yourself, the lie that you are preparing. You've got the notebooks filled with ideas. You've got a library of motivational videos saved in your watch later, and you've spent the last 6 months gathering data for a project that hasn't seen a single second of actual daylight. You think you're stuck because you don't have enough information. But I'm here to tell you that you are drowning in information while you are dying of thirst for execution. You think you know why you haven't started. You think it's because the plan isn't perfect or the timing isn't right. But you don't. Not yet. You haven't realized that your search is actually a high-level form of cowardice. You're not preparing, you're hiding. And deep down, you know it. You're the reason your dream is delayed. You're addicted to the feeling of being busy so you can avoid the terrifying reality of being productive. You want the result, but you run from the risk of a messy start. You want the expertise, but you're ducking the embarrassment of being a beginner. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't a student of success. You're a tourist who refuses to get off the bus. I remember sitting in a tiny office surrounded by stacks of books that I read 3 times each, with a dry erase board covered in diagrams and arrows that looked like a NASA flight plan. I had a vision for a program that would change lives, but for 6 months, that program only existed in my head and on those pages. I told my wife I was refining the strategy. I told my friends I was vetting the curriculum. But one afternoon, I caught a glimpse of myself in the window, and I saw the truth. I saw a man who was petrified. I saw a man who was using learning as a shield to keep from ever having to put his work on the line and be judged by the world. I was sitting in a room full of answers, but I wasn't asking any real-world questions. I had to grab a stack of those perfect plans, throw them in the trash, and pick up the phone to call the first person I could help. My voice was shaking. My pitch was garbage, and I didn't have half the answers I thought I needed. But in 10 minutes of action, I learned more than I had in 6 months of reading. I had to realize that an imperfect doing will be the perfect planning every single day of the week. The real problem is the execution gap. It's that massive canyon between what you know and what you actually do. You become a professional consumer in a world that only rewards the producers. You're waiting for the perfect version of yourself to show up before you launch. But that version of you doesn't exist yet because it can only be forged in the fire of execution. You're hiding behind your laptop, hiding behind your podcast, hiding behind your to-do list that never seem to get shorter. You want the breakthrough, but you're hiding from the breakdown that comes with a first attempt. And that's okay if today is the last day you do it. But if you wake up tomorrow and you're still gathering resources, you aren't a dreamer anymore. You're a squatter on your own potential. You owe it to you. You owe it to you. You owe it to you. You owe it to you to stop being a spectator of your own life and start being the lead actor. There's a psychological trap called analysis paralysis. Your brain is brilliant. It knows that if it keeps you in learning mode, it can keep you safe from the sting of failure. As long as you're searching, you can't be wrong. As long as you're planning, you haven't lost yet. So your mind creates a false sense of accomplishment every time you finish a book or watch a seminar, tricking you into thinking you've made progress when you haven't moved an inch. You're stuck in a loop of intellectual stimulation that has zero real-world output. You're over collecting data while your window of opportunity is closing. You're trying to build a bridge by studying the physics of gravity instead of just laying the first brick. You don't need more light. You need to start walking in the dark. I'm giving you a tool right now to kill the hesitation and bridge the gap. It's called the 10-minute blitz. I don't want to hear about your 90-day plan. I want you to identify the one thing you've been planning to do for a month. That email you haven't sent, that page you haven't written, that application you haven't submitted. You are going to do it for 10 minutes right now. No preparation, no setting the mood, no perfection, just raw, ugly, unpolished execution. You have to prove to your brain that the world doesn't end when you start before you're ready. You have to become a predator of the now. You have to value a messy dome over a perfect imagined. Look at how this looks in your daily life. It's 10 a.m. on a Saturday. You've been saying you're going to start your YouTube channel or launch your consulting business. You're standing there looking at your equipment, thinking you need to watch one more tutorial on lighting. Stop. That's the gap. You use the 10-minute blitz. You grab your phone, not the fancy camera you haven't bought yet, just your phone, and you hit record. You talk for 10 minutes. It's probably going to be the worst video you ever make. You're going to stumble over your words. The lighting is going to be terrible. But you've done something that 99% of people will never do. You've closed the gap. You've moved from the world of wishes to the world of is. You've broken the spell of perfectionism and you've stepped into the reality of progress. When you start living like this, your identity undergoes a massive shift. You stop being a student of success and you become an executive force. You become someone who values speed over certainty. You become the person who is comfortable with the ugly phase of growth because you know it's the only path to the elite phase. You start to realize that the most successful people in the world aren't the ones with the best plans. They're the ones with the most scars from trying. You become a person of action, a person who doesn't need to be told twice, a person who doesn't wait for the weather to change to start planning. You become a leader because you're the only one brave enough to go first. So here's my final challenge to you. Close the gap today. Stop hiding behind your education and start showing us your execution. If you've been getting ready for more than a week, you're already behind. I want you to take that one thing you're most afraid to start because you don't feel ready, and I want you to give it 10 minutes of raw effort right now. Don't worry about how it looks. Don't worry about who is watching. Just put the work on the map. You've been a prepper long enough. It's time to be a performer. The world doesn't need more people who know what to do. It needs more people who are actually doing it. Get out of the library and get onto the field. Break the gap, execute now. If you break all 4 of these traps, if you escape the survival trap, kill the mirage, pay the currency of pain, and close the execution gap, something dangerous happens. You become unstoppable. You become the person everyone else is watching. Most people will never see this side of life because they are too busy being comfortable. They are too busy being comfortable. They are too busy being safe. They are too busy being average, but that isn't you. That was never you. You are the architect of your own destiny, and the building starts now. Would you like me to generate a series of high energy YouTube titles and thumbnail concepts for this specific script to maximize your click-through rate?